The first time he was arrested, he was released on, I believe it was $100,000, maybe it was $1 million bail.
Hey family, welcome back.
Thanks for joining us once again. I'm Dewan.
And I'm Jen.
We're here for the Extending Family Podcast. Welcome you back into the conversation about Black lives and Black love. Thanks for joining us again on the conversation. We've been talking a little bit about identity in the Black community. But what does it mean when somebody violates the norms of our communities?
Something we said in our previous episode was that it is a privilege to be Black. So when someone in the Black culture does something that we can all agree is a no-no, what should we do with their legacy? Do we turn a blind eye and embrace what they gave in the legacy and keep it? Or do we stop supporting the artist, whether it's through finance because we're continuing to purchase, or attention because we're continuing to participate in that person's life?
Yeah, it's one of the hardest questions to kind of grapple with is there even a way to separate the contributions of those people from the art or the entertainment that they've provided over the years and the impact that they've left on the people who've come behind them?
There was another YouTube podcast that was continuing to have the conversation in which they said we need to separate the person from the art because the legacy lives on. So to shift the perspective to another artist.
None other than Robert Kelly.
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly, as you may or may not know, was born in Chicago, Illinois, and his career started probably around 1992, 91, but he really made it big with his first album, which was called 12 Play. That one had Bump and Grind on it. Everybody knows Bump and Grind. R. Kelly has a number of hits and has worked with tons of artists, and some you may not know about. Anybody from Jay-Z to Usher to Celine Dion to Lady Gaga.
I did not know about the Lady Gaga collaboration.
That's right. And I don't know if you knew this either, but R. Kelly has sold 75 million records worldwide, which makes him the number one male artist selling in R&B.
I did not know that.
It's crazy how big his popularity is. And his career has spanned from 1993 until I think around 2018, when he was charged with approximately 22 allegations of sexual abuse.
I didn't realize he was one of the highest paid artists and he had such a long career because I think of other artists before I think of R. Kelly.
Which is completely understandable, but if you think about it, he had so many different hits, from Bump and Grind to I Believe I Can Fly to I Wish to Trapped in the Closet, which, whether you like it or you don't like it, it definitely garnered attention and had a lot of popularity.
So in terms of how he has impacted the culture or anything he's given back to the culture, what are some of his accolades?
Well, R. Kelly, aside from working with some of the biggest names in the industry, R. Kelly has also been given many awards and has sparked the careers of a lot of artists, including Sparkle, Aaliyah, and collaborations with the likes of Missy Elliott and Timberland. Going back to Aaliyah, why there was a hold up, a pause, a stop. And I think, if we're being honest, a lot of us should have seen the signs, especially considering his previous allegations in which he was found not guilty. He went to trial for sexual abuse allegations before, but they couldn't prove that it was him. Subsequently, he was found not guilty. This time around, there are at least 2 allegations of his sexual abuse of minors. The other 18 to 20 young women and girls were alleging that they were being held captive, that they were being forced to do things, and that they were not allowed to leave his presence.
Why was this allowed to continue for so long? Why are people turning a blind eye? Why? He's not that great to the culture that we should keep him and protect him from all costs. Just because you're good at something, just because you have a skill, doesn't mean you should be protected and treated differently. And this boggles my mind.
I agree with that completely. And One of the things that was really strange was you have a host of musicians who seem to have some sort of knowledge of this side of R. Kelly. People have joked about it, including Dave Chappelle on the Chappelle Show. You have half the industry who seems to have known about this, and then you have another half of the industry, like the Celine Dion's, Lady Gaga's, even Jay-Z and Usher, who have spoken out and said that they wish that they hadn't worked with him and that they regret it and have taken those albums off the shelves. Going back to Jen's point of the people who support him, it's almost the opposite, at least from my experience, than it is with Cosby. We have a younger generation of individuals who are, say, Gen X and maybe millennials who say, you know what, I like Bump and Grind. I Believe I Can Fly. Just because he's a predator doesn't mean that I should stop listening to his music. And that just doesn't make sense to me. I feel, like Jen was saying, that the more we listen, the more we're contributing to his wealth. And the more wealth he has, the more capable he'll be of avoiding the accountability that he needs.
And we talk about R. Kelly because he had an interview with Gayle, Oprah's best friend.
Gayle King.
And the audacity.
I don't know if you've watched this. I think you should watch it just to understand what we're talking about. But this was probably the definition of playing the victim to me.
And in the image, you can see where he absolutely loses it, and you see his body language, and you can see his bodyguards pulling him back, pulling him down, and Gayle sitting there stoic and, as a queen should, just unflinching, not bothered by this little boy throwing his tantrum. And he is, like Cosby, saying, they are after me. And so for R. Kelly, like Dewan said, to be saying that he's the victim in this situation.
He literally says, you're killing me, about 4 or 5 times. And I don't know how much I believe the part of he doesn't know what he's doing. For anybody to sustain a career that lasts that long and to have those types of predilections, it just seems like a person who feels like they're above the law, or somebody who feels like, I've gotten away with it so long, why not continue? Which brings us to Surviving R. Kelly. This is a 6-part series which was originally available on Lifetime, but if you have Netflix, you can watch all 6 parts. It really goes in depth, and the women who are there, they're completely vulnerable, and they tell their stories of the abuse, their interactions with R. Kelly, how they have moved on in their lives, and what are the shadows and the remains of those abuses that still affect them to this day.
Does the documentary series from Lifetime come before or during the Me Too movement?
This documentary comes after Me Too, but before he's arrested the second time. The first time he was arrested, he was released on, I believe it was $100,000, maybe it was $1 million bail. The second time he was arrested was approximately a year later, in July of 2019, and he was locked up with no bail. And actually, I believe this September, he's supposed to face his trial.
But I'm glad that they at least had Lifetime and Netflix to be able to share their side of the story rather than continue to wait.
The Me Too movement is possibly a big part of why R. Kelly is actually facing the accountability that he is now.
And so will you continue to listen to R. Kelly, or will you go back and listen to his old works?
That is an easy question for me. I haven't listened to R. Kelly in probably a minimum of 5 years. That was even before his first trial that I really wasn't listening to his music anymore. But after the first trial and just kind of getting that same understanding that Jen was saying, that there are artists in the industry who really kind of know it's a known secret. I can't fathom contributing to that behavior or continue to build his financial empire, which, if you listen to R. Kelly, he says he's broke.
All the time. Well, what do you think? When it comes to turning a blind eye or continuing to support the art versus the artist,
yes, drop a comment below, join the conversation.
We'd love to hear what you have to say. And as always, hope you like this episode. Please like and subscribe.
All right, once again, I'm Dewan.
I'm Jen.
Peace.
Power and love.